Okay, let's get going. I'm Anurag, and you are here for GTM workshop for AI. And we're going to be spending about 2.5, 3 hours together. And I want to set some ground rules so that you get the most out of this time together. And first of all, it's a workshop. So while I'll be walking through some core concepts, some of the work you'll be doing would be individually through guided worksheets that I've prepared for you. And what you get out of this will depend upon how much you are engaged. I want this to be interactive. That's why it's a small group. I expect you to interrupt, raise your hand, and have a conversation, because it's no point going to the third or fourth or fifth workshop exercise if you haven't kept up with the first or second or third. So it is interactive. It is meant to guide you through a set of questions that I'm hoping will help you generate new insights into your AI go-to-market strategy, particularly your AI product value propositions. So that's the intention. And first of all, I want to thank we have volunteers, 5 of them right here. Please stand up. They are actually very seasoned, experienced executives themselves, and true TiE spirit. They're helping us make this possible. So if you have any questions, technical or support-wise, they will help. Okay. Welcome questions. First, scan this, and you will see a Google form survey. 3 basic questions, okay? 3 basic questions. You can fill them, and here are the questions themselves for those who didn't have the form. Exactly same questions, okay? So let's quickly do verbally. All of you are in early stage startups. Anybody who's not a B2B early stage startup, it doesn't matter what business model. Anybody who's not in startup business? Yes, okay. Anybody else, just exploring?
Yeah, just exploring.
Okay, just exploring. So for those who are just exploring, the way to best go through this experience is to make sure that you have some business intention or some idea in mind. Otherwise, this will seem like a very abstract set of exercises for you. Those who are in the arena already have a startup at various stages of maturity. Obviously, you will answer these questions with the perspective of your own business that you're already in. How many of you large business? A, B, C, D, question 1. How many? Just throw out the answers. A, B, A. Anybody B?
D.
B. Okay. C or D? Anybody? D, more than 5. Okay. Business models. A, B, C, D. Just pop answers. A. Okay. SaaS. Okay. Anybody? B, C? Okay. All SaaS. Okay. Often, you get people with mixed backgrounds who are also doing services business. Okay, loaded question number 3. A, B, C. A, yes. B. Okay. C, not sure. Okay, that's a very good answer. Because when the world is jumping into AI, it doesn't mean you have to. You can be a little bit more careful about it. Okay, so we've already answered this. This session ideally is for people who are in the arena building and selling either existing apps that want to be enhanced with AI, or you are thinking of AI first, AI native apps. Meaning, you don't have just a SaaS product that you want to layer in AI. You actually want to think of a product that is AI first, built from scratch. We will go through both of those scenarios today as an exercise. I'm not going to talk about technology today. It's a big provocation. I expect all of you to be self-learning around models, foundations, AI agentic platforms. This is not that class. The class assumes that you have an AI basic technology understanding, and you're trying to build value propositions, applications, and services on top of it, right? And we will guide you through that. Okay. Anybody can do AI washing. Have you heard the term AI washing? Like, let's go to the website, use ChatGPT, and take our website and throw all the AI words on it, right? And tomorrow, everybody will say, these guys are also into AI. Like, you wash AI, and it's okay, not enough. Because, everybody in your competitive team is also doing the same thing. So now you have raised the AI, the noise level, but you're not any different. So the hard work with AI is how to recreate your core value proposition with AI in order to be different than others. Right? So if you are not looking to change your core product and service, your core SaaS product, core service offering, or combination of software SaaS product, then this is the wrong place. Because then you're going to do AI washing. You're going to do a lot of AI on your GTM, on your marketing. That is not to say you shouldn't use AI for personal productivity. You should use AI for sales teams, use AI for HR. All those are good things. But if you are not willing as a technical founder to change your core product and service with AI, right, then you're AI washing from value proposition point of view. And therefore, if you're doing AI and you want to inject AI in your core product and service, then what you need to do is think about the value proposition of doing that and how to do that, the business value. And that's what we're going to focus on. Okay, FII. This is a bunch of things. I chair the GTM program for startup, for TiE, and outside of TiE as well, I teach lots of courses on this, and this is one of the modules of a multi-8-week course I teach. I also have newsletter and self-guided videos if you want to follow more of what I'm talking about today. More specifically, there's a boot camp of 8 weeks I run, which is 1 hour a week every week for 8 weeks. The next boot camp starts May 15th. All of you who are registered for this are already pre-approved by TiE for a 20% discount. That's the last ad for those who want to follow up through AI. Those who are local, I also host office hours for those who go through my online program at the TiE office. Okay, this is how we're going to spend time. It's going to be a tight 3 hours. We have scheduled 2.5. This is how we're going to do. We're going to talk about how AI is going to change the value proposition. Then we will jump straight into what your AI product value strategy should be. And a lot of people don't know where to start. Do I start a little? Do I start a lot? We'll go through that. Then there are 2 different ways we will go about building your value propositions. One I call AI enhanced. Many of you who already have SaaS products, right? You're not going to throw everything out of the water and start from clean slate. So over there, what follows naturally is how do you layer in AI into your current SaaS product? That's what I call path A. Define your AI enhanced solution if you already have an existing AI product, SaaS or otherwise. Other track, which we will also follow, is define your AI native solution. If you had white page and you wanted to start with an AI native solution, what would that look like, right? I will walk you through, all of you will go through both of those. Some of you might appreciate one more than others, depending upon where you are in your own startup journey. But at least you will see the challenge of building AI through simply enhancing it an existing product or transforming it. We will then do a little bit of exercise on how you take your positioning of AI-enhanced products and how do you position your product for differentiation. The hardest part of AI landscape is not going to be AI capabilities. I repeat, hardest part of AI landscape is not going to be AI capabilities. Everybody will have the same. It is going to be how are you using it differently. Differentiation is going to be the hardest part from a value proposition. We will talk a lot about how do you differentiate with AI. And then, time permitting, we will touch on GTM implications, pricing, pathways, packaging. That, if you came in thinking all I need is to do pricing and packaging and bundling, that's a different part of the progress. The thesis is if you don't have a clarity around your core product value proposition and positioning, your GTM activities for sales, marketing, channels, pricing, bundling come downstream of that, right? In a longer course, in a longer workshops, I cover those, but those usually depend upon how clear you are on your value proposition before you start the GTM activities, okay? So we will at least touch upon the core implications, even if you can't go further. How to get most out of the stay present. I think we covered most of it already. You'll have worksheets. raise hands, digital slides, reflect and complete later. Okay, let me start by motivating you why and how exactly is AI disrupting the value propositions, right? Different ways, always in SaaS. This is how the world of SaaS looks like. Seems like a complicated chart. Let me explain to you. We will be spending time on this chart quite a bit. Somebody joked the entire world of SaaS can be reduced to a database, a workflow engine, and dashboards. Some data gets pulled on, some workflow gets triggered, and some dashboards pop up with KPIs. Entire SaaS is just that. Slap on some business models, subscription, seat, etc., on how you make money. This actually reflects that. And all I'm trying to say to you is that all current business value in applications starts with this idea. First, I will break it down. Somebody in the company who has purchased your software, employees, is a buyer, a user, and perhaps some people in between who I call the team. Team is user-buyer combination who are making sure that the output of your work is getting ingested and used elsewhere. A workflow. Those are the three most important personas or archetypes you will face in any business today in SaaS. Who is your buyer, who is your user, and who is the team? Users literally mean people who have access to your software, people who log in, spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 8 hours on your software. Buyer is might or might not use your software, might get a report, might get a dashboard. Team could be a blend. Could be somebody who gets a report, has to send it, or could be a combination. Depending upon the kind of software you will have, if you are business apps, mostly you are a lot of users. If you are a workflow productivity tool, collaboration tool, you have a lot of workflows. And if you're a BI tool, you have a lot of dashboards. Some of them have all three. Doesn't matter. The point I'm making is I'm trying to partition for you that how software creates value today. You have use cases that are decision use cases, collaboration use cases, and productivity use cases. This is my way of saying what users care about is productivity. What workflow team cares about is how quickly can I get the collaboration done and move on. What buyer cares about is I paid so much for Salesforce.com, Salesforce package, and I'm still not getting the good leads. So they care about the outcome, the decisions they have to make. So goal and value is what buyer cares about. KPIs are metrics that teams care about potentially, workflows and tasks. And here is the point. They might even have partners, AI partners, service partners. These are external experts, consultant people servicing. Why am I breaking this down this way? Until AI came along, the way we are doing it properly with both Gen AI, by AI I mean Gen AI, as well as ML, as well as all the methods of AI that have been common, predictive, generative, etc., combined. What's the problem that AI is solving? Human intelligence is missing in the loop. In this process, what happens if the goal is not met, right? You go train the experts to say, why is my goal missing? Somebody looks at the dashboard. Then you say, oh, the team is not doing the work properly. Let's go talk to the team. Then they need to train the team. The users are not doing the input into Salesforce correctly. So let's train the users or coerce them to put proper inputs. So what happens is that the intelligence of humans happens outside this loop. I'll give you a very simple example. In customer service, which is a regulated industry, right? What happens if the head of customer service says, our target is to have 50% cost savings at the same CSAT, and you're not hitting those numbers? You will say, well, I think we need to train the leads who are running these. Our first call resolution numbers are going down. These are the key metrics. Well, let's go train the people who are deciding on these insights, whether they're looking at it right. Well, they will say, well, let's train the agents who are escalating it. Then they will say, even the agents are not using it properly. Let's train them on the new scripts. And then they will do it. And then we will see whether the agent's productivity improves. Then we will see whether the workflow improves. Then we will see whether you hit the savings. The loop is complicated. All interactions are outside that require human judgment right? Now, this is the two different ways AI disrupts this pattern. The reason I was laying out those two patterns was we all swim in it, we forget it. AI enhances code at every level. So it doesn't matter where your product is in the stack, whether you are a data, whether you are an application, whether you're workflow, whether you're a decision engine, AI is going to disrupt the stack, the full stack, right? And AI is going to empower every human. It is not just going to empower people who are building the software on the right. It will also empower the employees inside the company who are using your software. So you now have a disruption that is going to be both code and people, and it will allow AI labor arbitrage to happen. So at the right time, the AI can replace human activity or enhance human activity at every level. This will result in, so your people you're selling to will also start using AI. You will start using AI, and your service partners will start using AI. This will result in completely new business models. Because now you can rebundle the AI labor arbitrage in 5 different ways. You can say, I can take out the entire business that my client is doing because I will do it myself. That's my managed services with AI. Like, I can take the customer service operation and just do it for you. And that's a managed service. You can obviously blend software and service. You can also start producing AI native applications with completely new UX, workflow, and interactions. And you can, of course, also become services that are expert services enhanced by AI behind the scene. What I'm saying is that it's deeply disruptive at every part of software and people layer. Why are we doing this? Okay, so you're motivated. You might say, I understand all this slightly, but why does it matter? I just need to create an AI value proposition. The reason it matters is everything I just told you. Creating AI value proposition is facing headwinds. Despite all the hype that you will hear, the failure rate in AI projects is 70 to 80%. 70 to 80%. Everybody is doing trial. Everybody is doing innovation theater. How many of them are reaching production right now or going from pilot to production is very small percentage. Why? Why? So it's not technology, of course, because the value propositions that are being created are not clear. And those are complexity. Trust. People don't trust the answers yet. So it's not enough for you to do something in pilot and say, the pilot is working fine. Once I start scaling, it's going to work. JP Morgan just released a notice yesterday to all the technology leaders saying that they expect that there will be huge backlash because of governance and security issues alone. Because while it sounds good, the negative job and IT security risks are so high, lack of explainability. Value realization, time it takes for you to prove that you can improve a metric with AI, might take too long despite your best attempts in labs. These are some of the reasons why your AI value propositions are getting harder and harder. Last question before we move on. What do you think will be your business model, let's say a couple of years from now? Do you have any indication? A, B, C, D, E, F. Guess. Because we all said business model is changing, right? So do you have a guess at what kind of business model you will land up in? A, modified SaaS subscription, fair point. Others? Anybody else? Okay. All of these are getting experimented with. I work with founders who started with 1, jumped to 2 or 3, or back and forth as part of their product market fit. This is super important. If you're a SaaS founder and you have had success, modest success, or even significant success, or even unicorn level success, chances are you need to rethink all of these, because it's not enough to simply say, I'm going to layer in AI and that's going to be good. In certain circumstances, it might be a great start. But remember, there will be others who will be following different business models to go after the same business you are going after. Okay, first worksheet. So this worksheet is called Identify Your AI Value Strategy. It's about a 10-page worksheet. There's a hard copy floating around as a reference. If you, in WhatsApp, I had a chance to send this worksheet to you. And if you're on laptop, working on laptop, you can obviously pull it on your laptop. I'll give you a minute to make sure you have access to it. And if you don't worry. There's a hard copy floating around. Choose it. The title of that is called Identify Your AI Value Strategy. Here is the first set of concepts. We're going to work through the worksheet very quickly in about 20 minutes or so. These are the steps. The approach we will follow is going to be outside in. What I mean by that is we're going to start by really focusing on your customers and how well do you know them, understand their pain, before we start talking about technology, product, or what business you're in, right? So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is what I call define your customer archetype. So this is a solo exercise. If you have a version of your copy in front of you, please feel free to follow along. Okay? And then we will do a group thing. Okay, first question. Who is your user, buyer, and team archetype? Very simple, write it down. This might be simple and intuitive for you. If you know who the buyer is, who the user is, and who the team is for your product, and I want you to anchor the following way. Let me anticipate some objections. You might say, I have multiple buyers. It's a B2B complex situation. Choose one who is the key decider. And the way to decide that is whose job is on the line, who will be promoted or fired because of your product. Very clear. Not very complicated. Right? Not somebody junior, like who is, and then the way to think about it, what decisions they need to make to improve the business value chain they are responsible for. I'll repeat. Your buyer is buying you for some business reason. What business value chain, what business process, what business outcome they're responsible for. If you are a customer, if you're selling to a head of customer service, what part of customer service job are they responsible for that you are being purchased by them? What decision will they make with your software to improve customer service job that they're responsible for? That's the buyer. Flip at the extreme, who is the user? That's easy. You have somebody who touches your product. Doesn't have to be only the person who gives you access control, who spends most time on your software to get some job done. Who is that person? Most likely, they're doing it in a way to get certain job done. That's why you have to write down, this is the job I expect a user to do using my software. In the middle could be a bunch of people, maybe the user, maybe the buyer, maybe some other people who are making sure the output of your product is getting used by other parts of your organization through some workflow. Good example, if you're an invoicing software, then the invoice might have to be distributed somewhere, might be approved by somebody, that has to come back. 5 other people might have to come in. Or if you are inherently a collaborative tool like Slack, then you know that the whole team has to be using the product together. So which is the team? What is the workflow in which your product exists and the users have to participate in? That 3-part partition is what I'm looking for. If some businesses might have 2 different buyers, reasonably, you might be a product that requires a head of product and engineering and CIO, 2 different buyers. One writes the check, other makes a technical approval. Fair enough. You might have 2 different kinds of users, 2 different users. One could be a power user, other could be, like, if you're design versus admin. Fair enough. The point is, if you have multiple buyer teams and users, choose the minimum critical few. This is not an exercise in mapping out all the buyers you could possibly sell to, mapping out all the users you could possibly sell to. It is an act of synthesis, the most important few for you to run your business. Here are some examples I'm throwing on the screen just so that you can see the partition of the 3. These are well-known companies, vertical SaaS, horizontal SaaS. Pick any. Take Gong. Like the buyer is clearly, the head of sales, RevOps. The user is, of course, sales reps who are using Gong to make sure it's recorded. And then, of course, the team is sales enablement team who's making sure the Gong is being distributed properly and the output of it is shared across. You can go through any of these examples, whichever ring close to you, to understand how this happens. Okay? More examples, infrastructure level. This architecture I'm describing applies whether you're an infrastructure or a SaaS application. Whether you are Okta, Splunk, your users might be entirely technical, your team might be entirely technical, your buyer might be entirely a CIO or a head of engineering, but the three-part architecture, by and large, applies to that, with some significant differences we don't need to go into today. How many of you are infrastructure SaaS versus business application SaaS? Infrastructure SaaS, anyone? 1, 2, 3. Business applications? Rest. Okay, so if you start seeing any, this set of frameworks applies to both. So if you struggle with it, let me know. Okay, we'll keep going. Now comes the next part. Now that you know who, we're gonna now narrow down on identify what they value. What I mean by that is very simple. Here is a three-part value. A buyer does not value your software. They don't care about your product. They care about the value that comes out of the product, right? In fact, very often in large enterprises, the buyer might not even be the user, a power user of your software, right? Barely knows the software. Head of sales maybe goes into Salesforce not as often as a sales rep who's spending 8 hours a day updating opportunities, right? So my point is, you have to know for the buyer, what is the goal? What is the value and what is the primary value and primary goal they're trying to hit? Objective measure. Goal can be in plain English. Value can be in metric. I want to reduce cost of serving customers by 50%. That's my goal. Metric, 50% reduction in cost. I want to increase the supply chain delivery time schedule by 30%. My primary goal, reduce supply chain delivery time by 30%. That's my value. So simple. Write it down. At the bottom, at the user, the goal is completely different. Goal is productivity. I'm using this to get my job done. My goal is to schedule the delivery of all these products whose supply chain will get approved, but my job is to improve schedules. My job is to use this software. Can I do the job? My job to be done. And over there, most of the metrics are productivity metrics. Can I schedule 10 deliveries or can I schedule 50 deliveries? Can I schedule 1 delivery? What's my productivity, personal productivity, right? In the middle is team, where it's all about process and workflow improvement. Like, how is my orchestration working? These invoices are taking too long. Only 50 of them can be processed by a finance analyst. We need 200 of them to be processed. It's the workflow optimization. How many people are touching it and why is it getting stuck in legal all the time and not in finance and all that? So second is this. So my question now is, write down for your 3 archetypes what their value. Again, less is more. Here is an example. Gong. User, team, buyer, different personas, different things they value, different metrics. Okay, here are some examples. So there's a printed copy. There are too many pages, so I didn't want to throw it over here. But there's a printed copy of examples, just like the one I showed you on Gong, on every table. And you will see examples of B2B, and examples of infrastructure, examples of app companies, at least a dozen examples. Next comes a different exercise. We're going to do the problem potential. What does it mean? Problem potential, right? You know the buyer, you know what they value, right? In physics, this idea of kinetic potential and potential of the different kind. Like if I'm at a height, I have more potential. If I fall, I'm going to hurt myself more, higher potential energy. So potential simply means how much prospect do you have of a problem? How big is the problem? And here is a very simple way of thinking about potential. On the left, I use the term hungry customer. Hungry customer is customer who has those issues on the left-hand side. How big is their burning problem for the buyer? How much are the KPIs they're missing? How brutally bad or blocked or inefficient is their workflow? And how frustrated are the users with their painful task? That is the current state of affairs. How clearly can you describe the current state of affairs? And then on the right is the ideal world of what would be fantastic outcome metric that they're chasing, what would be fantastically efficient workflow, and what would be highly delightful experience and productive behavior of a user. If you can fill the red column and the green column, the gap between the two is your problem potential. That's what you have to play with. That tells you how big a problem. If you are in a complicated space and the problem potential is very high, that's a good news. It means that you have a lot of room to solve the problem, and a lot of customers will be willing to talk to you because the problem potential is high. A lot of startups work on some cool ideas with very low problem potential. The burning problem is not enough, and the metric that you're going to release by solving it is not high enough, so the potential is not much. It might be a cool widget, but it's not going to move the needle. Okay, here are some questions for you to answer, self-guided. I'll give you 60 seconds to put down the first thing that comes to you for your own self. These are the questions that will help you figure out how strong is the problem potential for your customers today. What goals are we missing today? What metrics need to be improved? And what process needs to be improved? And what tasks need to be improved? Now comes the second part of closing out the problem. Action potential. Same idea. Can you act on it? Are you willing to act on it? Not enough for you to have the problem. Now I'm going to talk specifically about AI for the first time. AI solves a lot of problems, but that doesn't mean customer has high AI acting potential. What do I mean by that? On the left, you might have a customer and a team and a buyer, a user who is very frustrated. Customer is very hungry for you solving the problem. And they are willing to procure funding for you. The buyer says, I'll buy it for you. Block team is willing to try the product. Frustrated user might even try that technology for you. The AI action potential is minimum. That is table stakes. If you are in B2B SaaS, that is what's to be expected. If you don't have a good customer, then they're not going to fund you. They're not going to buy. But here is what AI becomes really important. Is your buyer willing to change the organizational structure for your solution? Are they willing to champion your AI approach with the rest of the organization? Different question, right? A lot of companies who are selling AI today talk to a hungry buyer who does not have any action potential. They are in a regulated industry. They're not looking to change anything. Or even if I change it, I'll see if it goes well. Maybe someday I'll advocate for AI. So this is where all the experimentation dies, because the buyer they might be willing to fund you. But when it comes to AI, they have no change potential. Similarly, if the buyer is willing, is the team willing to change the process? Can the buyer make the team change the process? Not going to happen in certain industries, certain times. Don't waste your time selling them AI vision. Not going to work. Third, user has to try the product. That is a given. First column is a given for any successful SaaS. But are they willing to change their job? Are they willing to risk losing their job? Will they be mandated to use your product? Will they be fired if they don't use the product? Or other ways? Or will their entire department get wiped out because somebody else is using your product? So that's the user level. And those who are using your product, are they willing to champion it inside the company and saying, I love using it. And this is the way I want my job done now. This is your action potential. The goal is still the same. The goal is still the same. The metrics we talked about, successful. The question is, how much clarity do you have of action potential for your buyer community right now? So now I'm going to open up. I'm going to walk around. I'll give you literally 5 to 10 minutes, no more than that. Among yourselves, share the summary of what we just talked about, which is who are your customer archetypes, buyer, user, team, what pain point, what metrics you think they're solving, and what's your judgment of the action potential? Are they willing to make all these AI-related changes to solve those problems or not? At this point, what is important is that you have an appreciation for who your ideal customer profile is with the archetype framework, and what are the problems they're facing in line of sight of a value, and third, whether they are willing to act to make AI a reality in their environment. Those are the three things we covered. We're going to do one more thing, and this is going to sum up everything we have spoken so far. I call it the AI value strategy, and it comes down to basically a spectrum, but I'm going to force it to choose two poles. First pole is structured environments. Other is agile environment. Structured can be regulatory, structured can be compliance, structured can be rigid just because of culture. So it can be any of the above. Agile could be where you have change agents, naturally agile industries like media and retail where competitive pressures are high. So there's a spectrum here. So what I want is for you to choose where you are on that spectrum, because that will inform how much of a leap you can make with your AI value propositions, right? Everybody says AI is transformational, fantastic, but if your company and your business is going to be transformational in 8 years, you might not make it, right, as a company. So it's important that you match with the ground reality of who you are selling to. And here is why it is so different, and the product value strategy will differ. In structured environment, which is the left, AI value is created bottom up. In structured environment, the AI value ladder is such. The users have to continue, because you are not willing to change the team process, you are not willing to change the users or buyers too much, which is a good news. Stable, same buyer, user, but the value will be created as you add AI to perhaps the user getting a little better, maybe the team workflow becomes a little better, the improvements of the metrics become a little better. AI value is enhanced bottom up. In agile environments where a buyer has the ability to be a significant change agent and can change the entire workflows, entire teams, replace teams, right-size teams, fire teams, that environment is quite different in what AI can do. Over there, new workflows and new tasks can be created if the AI promise is proven to be real. I call it AI native workflows. Now, you might say, maybe I fall somewhere in the middle. Okay. You will have to start deciding use case by use case, but generally, I want you to have a perspective where you are closer to the spectrum. It will inform how much do you invest in AI value proposition that is enhanced versus radically new. Make sense? So here is the exercise I want you to do. General, same thing, right? Now, I'll start bringing in the whole idea of agentic. Agentic is hot, so I thought I'd add it over here, right? If your AI agents are doing workflow automation and task augmentation in existing structures, that's on the left-hand side. If you're completely redoing decision time analysis with AI agentic, that's on the right side, right? Similarly, if your value realization is mostly efficiency and cost, maybe on the left-hand side. Broadly speaking, you can see whether AI is going to be incremental in the near term, 1 or 2 years, or transformational. Not looking at the hype in the media. Because media will tell you that everything is happening right away all the time. Here are a couple of more strong prompts for you to consider. Which of the two sides do you today belong to with your business? Left side, modify SaaS with AI agents. Right side, completely new creative apps. Example, if you have a very strong buyer personas in place and they have low action potential, meaning they're not looking to make rapid changes, you might still be able to add some value with AI at the incremental value with AI agents. On the right-hand side, you could have major significant AI unlock with agentic platforms. So, AI product strategy. Enhanced or AI native? Let's go around. Judgment. Structured, okay. Native, okay. There's no right, wrong answer, by the way. This is not a value judgment. There's nothing wrong by saying, oh, I am only enhanced, I'm not doing native. I'm just simply saying this is a ground truth. So now we're going to go through how to do this, how to start building the value prop. Now that we have a structure of how much can your customer absorb and what kind of customer profile you have, now we'll start adding the value proposition. Okay, let's start with enhanced first, a little easier. Okay, remember, enhanced means relatively structured and you have relative clarity around your 3 personas. And as I said, your value ladder, value how you're building is bottom up. Okay? There are 3 steps we're going to go through, and there's a different exercise worksheet for that. Please take that worksheet. It is a sample of it is on your table. Otherwise, you have it in your WhatsApp right now. And the worksheet is called Develop AI Enhanced Product Solution. That's the exact name. So we're going to do 3 things. We will map your value chain. We will list your AI product capabilities. This is where we start bringing in your product. And then we will layer in your AI on top of your product capabilities on the value chain. Map value chain of use cases. So this is interesting. What you want is to know what your use cases are currently. You might already have it. So far you were thinking about just your buyer. I want in the middle now to lay out top 3 or 4 use cases that you currently have. For example, what exactly is a use case for the buyer? Meaning, I'm using example of, again, Salesforce. I get to see my pipeline health, and therefore my decision on what to do with my pipeline by allocating sales reps to different parts or different opportunities is a decision I'm making. I'm making decisions on pipeline health, and here are the 3 decisions I make. That's the decision level use case for the buyer. What is the use case for the user? How are they using it? What's the primary job to be done? What's the top use case? What's the team doing? And the point I'm making is you have to create a value chain. You have to be clear about how these 3 support each other. If you look at the worksheet, there's a simple chart that asks you to fill in for the user, for the team, top 1 or 2 use case, and the key value, key metric. So follow along with me. Fill in your best example right now. 1 or 2. If you're not filling in your sheets directly, feel free to take notes in writing somewhere so you don't lose your thought and you can come back to it. Here is what we're going to do. If you have covered your core use case, here is how we're going to add the product to your use case. This is the trick. Start with understanding how your product stack delivers value to your customer stack. This is the only technical concept I'll introduce. Right? Right side is your customer IT stack. It varies a lot. It might be, depends on where you are operating. You might be saying, I'm working directly with infrastructure developer tools. I'm working with data intelligence layer. I'm working at engagement revenue, etc. But the point is, wherever is the stack you are working with at the customer side, you have your own product stack. This is how you have built your product. This is on the left-hand side. You are adding AI at every level potentially, and you have to consider what your entire stack is. So when I say pull out your AI agentic capabilities, I don't mean literally I'm going to build an AI agent X. It means my stack includes data already. I already have access to my own models, and this is the AI capability I can add on top. So what I want is for you to not talk about your AI capability at the micro level of what my feature is of the data that I pull from my own stack. I don't care about what the feature is of the algorithms. I don't care about the UX. I'm talking about core capability, and here is how you do it. First thing, I'm talking about full stack capabilities you are delivering through AI. And here is how to do it. At the bottom is tech. I'm simplifying for the sake of value creation. I'm not simplifying for the sake of your product team or your CTO. They would look at it and say, oh, this is not my product. That's not the exercise. Exercise is you have a tech stack at the bottom, your agentic platform. You have all the algorithms of various kinds, generative and machine learning. You have all the data and infrastructure that you have access to of your own, where you're pulling the data from. You might even have the UX. None of that I care about. I'm asking you to abstract and simplify, in plain English, your AI capabilities in these 5 buckets. These 5 buckets have been carefully created so that your AI capabilities should fit in one of these 5. Regardless of whether you are doing regression forecasting or LLM transformers or reinforced learning agents, that's tech. I'm asking, what is your AI capability when put in plain English? Can you predict an event? Example. Those are examples, right? When will this machine fail? That's predicting an event. Underneath it could be your ML model that you've fine-tuned to make better prediction and you have improved it. Fair enough. That's how. That's how. Can you prescribe an action? Example, can your system recommend a product? Like, what action can you prescribe? Can your system, can your capability prescribe an action with AI? Can you generate an insight? That's classic LLM. Can I put in LLM and generate some insight, generate an answer, generate a response, right? Can I control a process? Can I control a process, right? Do I have the capability to have automated AI agents that can control a process, and how much, right? And finally, what kind of user interaction can I generate through AI? Is it straight up AI agentic conversation, chatbots, or is it something more? What am I doing here? I'm asking you to rethink your entire product stack from an AI-first lens and put them into these 5 capability buckets. I want you to take about a few minutes to start capturing that. Why is that important? Because we are going to take these core 2 or 3, no more than 2 to 3 bullets in each is required. And not all of them need to be filled out. Depends on your product, depends on your technical competence, depends on where you are in your product maturity. Just choose which ones you think are important to you from your product capability and put 2 to 3 bullets in these 5 buckets. Those bullets will represent what capability are you going to add to your SaaS and your current product stack. And we will create value around that. So, any questions on what I'm doing? Questions? Okay. So, follow along, take literally 2-3 minutes and think about your entire product stack and see if you can fill out the next section in the worksheet that says, what are your top capabilities? Could be none, could be all 5, right? Depends on your product. Predict an event or prescribe an action. Prediction means some future event you're trying to forecast. Yes, so action, the subtle difference. If you're just predicting something, that means you're forecasting something that someone else can act on. Whereas prescribing an action means that you're actually triggering that action. So if you are recommending something, that means that you have triggered that action. That's all. So those examples can be many. Are you actually prescribing an action that you're taking through your system? For example, if you are interacting with a sales agent, like next answer, the interaction would be my capability in a call center. Call center environment, you are interacting with a user, end user, and your system is generating an answer. If you're not sure where it fits, choose one. The point is you're not going to go wrong. Wrap up your thought in next 15, 20 seconds. I'll keep reminding you, this is not a comprehensive exercise. I ask founders and CEOs to have a cup of tea or a glass of wine and go through these questions with a lot more reflection. And that actually generates better quality answers. My goal is to train you so that you understand how to go through this. This requires really deeper thinking. And the value is not in your first answer. Value is in your reflected answer, perhaps even with your trusted business partners and all that stuff. And the goal of this exercise is to generate fresh insights. And that only happens when you kind of go through that reflection. Okay, here is what we're going to do. The process becomes clear now. Remember, you're going to add capabilities, right? So you now have some idea. that my AI can do A, B, and C, right? Now we're going to start adding those capabilities to the user, to the team, and the buyer, specifically for the decisions, collaboration, and productivity use cases that you have identified. So now you are matching the capabilities you have envisioned or you have created or you have to the outside-in opportunity that you had created in understanding your customer. So this is where the matching happens. And how does that happen? Come back to it and say your task with those capabilities is to improve user productivity. Your task with those capabilities is to improve collaboration, right? The task with the buyers is to improve the decisions. I'm going to give you an example of a healthcare, and we will go through an example in detail while you will be doing an exercise for your business so that you can keep the context of the example. Here's an example from healthcare. Assume that the use case in healthcare is an AI-assisted patient workflow optimization. Imagine you're at a hospital and you're trying to optimize the intake of patients and how they flow through the hospital. Very simple. And now you know you have to improve it, and how do you go about improving it, right? What you're going to do is you start with individual layer. You want to make sure the individuals responsible for these tasks are doing a better job. Then you will see the collaboration and coordination of how patients can flow from one place to another. And finally, the key decision maker, maybe the chief operating officer of the hospital, who is responsible for customer patient engagement and satisfaction, worries about this. So what we are doing is figuring out where your use cases, remember we identified use cases in the first section, where your use cases fit in this structured layer, and we will start applying. And different kind of AI roles will emerge. And these are just examples, right? Maybe there's this AI scheduling agent to help the users. Maybe there is a workflow agent for routing the patient between the various care coordinators. Maybe there is a resource forecasting agent of how many beds we have in the hospital and how will we fill it. So what you're seeing is different capabilities and different coming in. So I'm going to walk you through an example, 3 layers. Here is an example of the hospital. Bear with me, and then I'll help you finish your part of it. Let's say the first use case for the task level is the admin. Their job is to recognize and routinize appointment scheduling, billing, data entry as you walk into the hospital, right? AI can play a role of an automator for an admin. They can match patient, they can process invoice, they can input with errors. Here's an example at a very basic level of what the AI is doing. It is helping the admin through automation of menial tasks. Example, the role of AI. Maybe the admin becomes better or the AI gets better and the doctor can now investigate patient history, predict, and AI is acting as an agent to help them investigate. And here are the activities of the thing. So what is happening in each of these cases is AI is working directly with your users. In your application, doctor was a user and admin was a user. And now you are doing tasks to help the user improve their productivity. And here are examples of kind of things. You're moving them up the productivity ladder. You're not doing anything more fancy than, here is my current job of the current user. How can I help them improve their productivity by adding AI capabilities that I had? And these are examples of what kind of AI capability might be used. So when you are doing it for your work, I want you to consider these questions in orange. So what routine tasks can AI automate for your user? Write it down. That is your lowest hanging fruit. Today, you know the user, you know the top use case, you know the hurdle they have of personal productivity, and the question is, what routine tasks can AI automate for your user? Who are your users? Where are they in the productivity ladder? What reflective tasks can AI improve with your user? Like a doctor is saying, okay, before I see the patient, I need to maybe get a history, get some analysis, right? So these are three very simple questions, all focused on job to be done, all focused on user persona, and all focused on moving them up the productivity ladder. That's it. This is where you got to start. Even in structured environments, even in hospitals, even in governments, even in regulated industries, because you're not disrupting anything. You have the user, you have the pain, they're not as productive. Let's move them up the ladder. How can AI help? Questions? Everybody with me? Tracking? Yeah? Keep taking notes if this prompts thoughts on how your application can answer these questions for your user. Let's take it to the next level. Now you have a team. Using the hospital example, you're a team coordinator and your job is to work with the admin team and take all the patient inflow. And the team coordinator's job is to patient intake triage, optimize staff workflow, distribute lab results. That's the team coordination work. The AI could help them with the execution of the work. Coordinate and control. The teams are about coordinate and control. It's no longer about reflecting, right? And over time, as they become better and better, they might even not just do the work, they might actually plan the work for you. So, complex patient case, sharing information across departments, training and supporting new members. So AI starts becoming a planner. And the agents that you're doing are now doing higher order work. What you're doing is improving the work. Again, these are the questions, the prompts I ask of you. Look at your team personas and look at what you would need to do with your team personas to help them coordinate and control. Who are your teams? Where are they in the collaboration ladder? What collaborative flows can AI plan for your team? What can they execute and what can they plan? Provocative questions. So what you're doing in this case, if you notice the pattern, is you're centering your AI injection in the context of the user that you already have, the pain they already have, in the value of the task they need to be done, and that way you are gently moving them up the ladder. Depends on the usability, depends on the readiness, but what you're doing is working with them to get them to be more, first productive, now collaborative, and the third is decision. In this example, the hospital chief operating officer, whose job it is to plan demand surge of the patients, is looking to evaluate like how to implement a new discharge procedure, how to change staff over sessions, over seasons. They might have a forecasting agent because their goal is decision. They need a lot more data, a lot more modeling, a lot more support. And over time, they might even go to a different level where you might even make it autonomous. Like we are beginning to be friendly with Teslas who drive us, right? So there's an automation ladder, autonomous ladder that arrived over time, where slowly, just like Tesla improved, those who drive Tesla also improved to the point where now we can let go. That's the autonomy. Lot of hype, but not easy to get there. Therefore, you have to make sure that you're working your way up the decision ladder. What are the questions you can ask today for your SaaS products? You can ask 3 questions. What goals of your buyer? What decision support they need? This is different than what the user is doing. What goals can you support of the buyer? What decision support do you need? And what key real-time decisions can the AI run for the buyer? Okay, that was all the theory. What I want is for you to take 5 minutes, literally, among your groups, summarize your version of how you would create your AI-enhanced solution. The 3 steps were, how will you map your capabilities, right? And then how will you move those capabilities, how will you apply those capabilities to user, buyer, team? And where would you have to inject that to move them up the productivity ladder, collaboration ladder, and decision ladder? Let's take 5 minutes among yourselves. Just to surmise what we've done. Started with AI problem potential. The world starts with problems, right? We started with who, actually. We started with understanding a buyer. We started with what problems they have, the burning problem. We started with decomposing it because the complexity is too high. If you just attack directly everything the buyer wants, it's too high. We decomposed it into the 3 layers. We decomposed the use cases for 3 layers, which are different. This was all preparation. Then we switched to, okay, we're going to now build the use case, the capability. There's some good conversation I want to clarify. When we talked about the 5 capabilities, this is my way of clustering 5 unique and different capabilities. They're not technically mutually exclusive, but they're reasonably mutually exclusive that you can say, here is a capability I want. I deliberately did not use the term feature. I did not use the term AI agentic platform, machine learning model, fine-tuning, MCP, none of that. And the reason is that's already getting too caught up in the implementation, and that might change very rapidly. So I deliberately said, take all your stack, complete full stack, and abstract it from AI perspective. That is not to do away with capabilities you already have. You have a UX layer, fine. That's an interaction capability. You have reporting layer, fine. You have a reporting capability. I'm not asking you to remove any of that. I'm asking you to say, you want to inject AI in it. So think in these 5 buckets. These 5 buckets reasonably capture all AI capabilities that are happening through various kinds of revolutions. Some of them might be machine learning oriented. Some of them could be computer vision. Some of them could be, pure generative LLMs, right? So whatever it is, these 5 will then allow you to connect to the problem and the use case rather than caught up in the implementation detail. If you say, my goal is to predict this event, and this will solve a decision problem for my buyer, you should know very clearly what the prediction of the event is. Only then can you say, oh, what do I need to do this? I need to collect this data. I need to run a regression. I need to put it, fine-tune it. I will predict. OK, got it. I'm pretty confident you will be able to solve that. The challenge of value is you can't abstract from the tech stack to the business stack. And I'm asking you to create that layer. OK, any questions on that? Clarification? OK, now we're going to get to more fun. Now we're going to take all the concepts we have learned and try to wrestle with some of you who are doing AI native, which means what if we have to go straight and say, I'm building something AI native in which I want to create capabilities and I want to still benefit from the AI disruption that's happening. There's a different worksheet for that. Please pop it open. It's in the same place. I'll give you 5-10 seconds, make a copy, have it, and we'll go through it. So, most important new idea I'm going to introduce when you get to AI native is the following. It is this idea of human-AI cognitive pairing. Fancy word for how we think together. Right? I'm deliberately not talking about what the magic of AI on its own. I really don't care about the AGI debate. I don't care about any of the futuristic stuff. Not that I don't follow it as much as you do. That's not the intention. But if you want to really become practical and build a business that's going to take off and have PMF and succeed in the next 12 to 18 months, that's the horizon. And the horizon has to be centered on the problems you can solve for now, even or in the near future if you're building an AI native. So cognitive human pairing simply is a way to say the following. When you start getting into the agile side of the game, what happens is that, remember the persona of buyer, user, etc., that starts collapsing. Because the user itself is now AI-enabled. The buyer is AI-enabled. And you are bringing technology with fancy AI agents, but somebody can come and say, OK, I'll do it as a services. Why do you need to even AI agents? So the disruption is happening all around, and the cognitive pairing is the way to break it, which is the following. You will start thinking of new roles. The user-buyer and the user-buyer team might disappear. That is not to say they won't exist. New roles will emerge. New roles will be now tied to AI. And it's not like AI is better. There will be a pairing. So what are the different kind of pairing that can happen? You can do this 6 layers, 5 layers, 4 layers. You can make it as complicated theoretically or sophisticated as you want. My goal was to keep it the simplest possible so that we can get some work done. Simplest possible are 3 layers, right? One layer is automation. Something gets automated. Simple. Like, the role of the person at the other end is that of a supervisor. It's like basically monitor and validate. Automation doesn't mean the person goes away. Automation means that 80% is gone. But somebody has to check in on the quality. Somebody has to make sure that it's not broken. Somebody has to do the exception handling that pops up, etc. Right? So that's all it is. So the first layer is supervisor, right? Where you see a work that can be automated, you automate it, your AI agents automated, and then the human cognitive pairing is somebody who acts as a supervisor. The machines are running on their own, but sometimes the machine breaks, remember, all AI is predictive. It's not compute, it's not logical, right? So there is inherent built-in error rate in every AI, even in ML, right? Forget Gen AI, which hallucinates. I'm saying even in the standard prediction models, you will have exception and error rate. And over there, the lowest level, even if you automate, you will have triggers and you will have exception handling, and that's the monitor, validate. And the role I'm calling on the other side is supervisor. Somebody plays the supervisor. Next, augmented. This is the most common one. Me and ChatGPT. All day long, right? So that's just like, I'm collaborating. It's an equal partnership. Like the AI creates something, I respond, I create something, AI responds, and the work is interpret, decide, refine. Interpret, decide, refine. That's a different level of abstraction. I'm not giving it control. It's like co-pilot idea of co-pilot, although co-pilot can be interpreted in so many different ways. But basically, think of it as you, a person, collaborating the model. Next level is autonomous, where it's a higher level than automation. A lot of decisions are getting made. The car is driving, is taking the turn, is deciding to, autonomy is happening, but it's like flying in the airplane. You still need a pilot, even if the plane is flying on autopilot. Pilot kicks in to make sure that the landing gear is opening and all that stuff. So the idea of an overseer, you govern and guard so that it doesn't run amok. 3 levels of abstraction, 3 levels of complexity. And what we're going to do is the following. We will take this idea of new roles being created as AI is getting more and more prevalent, and we'll simplify at these 3 roles. Knowing very well that this is exercise in simplification, you can get fancy, right? The 2 or 3 levels above it, like mentoring, and in some verticals, you can go pretty far. Or if you are in autonomous driving, then there might be 3. But 90% of the use cases that I'm seeing in AI fit in these 3. Which, think of it as very simple, superficial automation, decisions. Cognitive complexity is different, right? Decisions. For example, supervisor is, I want to make sure email spam filters are working fine. And if I'm in security, I get an alert. 90% of the time, everything is automated. I get something that breaks the rules, and I get the exception. So automated supervision is monitoring, whereas that is changing the policy, changing the decisions. Like good example would be a buyer making a allocation of assets. Significant decision. It's not like you automate and forget. You automatize, you put it in autonomous, but then you govern it. You change the policy. So it's a cognitive complexity that goes up. So the vertical axis over here is task and cognitive complexity. Yes, AI aspects are different. So is the human aspect is different. Stakes are higher, job is more complex. Stakes are lower, job is much straightforward. It's very easy to get trapped in architectures of RAG and agents. The fact is, short of some fantasy, most of the agents are not autonomous today. Even if you look at LangChain architecture, even if you look at Crew, some of these cutting-edge AI agentic platforms, and look at how, when you get to the implementation, how far are they along autonomy, they're not as far autonomous as, let's say, Tesla is in self-driving car. What I'm saying is, use case by use case, it's not easy to go up that ladder because there are so many breakpoints and so many disruptions and so many exception handling in production that you have to deal with. What I want you to do in this exercise is to go through, this is what we're going to do. I call this cognitive pairing. So now what we're going to do is create a use. You can see in the middle what's connecting them, job to be done. Job to be done, the use case, that's connecting them, right? So if you understand this concept, we're going to go through the worksheet, and I'll ask you to create now jobs to be done that have those capabilities, and then you will say, what is it I need from AI, and what is it I need the human to take care of, so the job gets done. That is more important than, oh, can AI do it? No. Can human and AI pairing do it? And if the pairing is incorrect, maybe the job to be done is too hard and you're just throwing AI at it when it's not ready. Maybe the job to be done can be solved easily with a human. Why throw AI at it? If your goal is to solve a problem and not just be a IT or tech visionary, then your goal should be solve the problem with the right pairing. Okay. Here is what's important. Remember I talked about the AI value ladder, bottom up? This time we're going to do top down. And this is really important because what AI is doing is it's attacking a problem directly. It's not going through user, workflow, decisions. And this is what I want you to do. In AI-human partnership, you take the aim directly at the goal. Your job is to reduce cost of service at a call center by 50%. Right? If you have the right to completely blow up the entire organization, change the entire skill set, change the workflow underneath it, then you would go down the AI first product route. You would say, my goal is this, and that's what's happening. Recently, last month, as part of TiE, I interviewed a founder of a Covus company, insurance agent company. What they're doing is they know how to serve customer support in insurance companies, and they're just saying, forget about fixing your workflow. We will rebuild the entire stack ourselves, and we will just solve the goal for you. What do you want? What cost you want? What's the cost to serve? And we will build an entire AI-first native stack with our own cognitive pairing of people I know and I can rent. So that's the power of AI first. Let's do it. Okay. Remember these 5 categories we talked about? What I want you to do is these 5 categories will still be applicable. The difference is we will now take the 5 categories that you did, apply directly to the goal. Just aim for the goal. Forget user, forget productivity, workflow, just solve the goal. And below it, if you need to create new teams and new tasks, so be it. Let's do it. Example, this is already happening in customer service. As I was telling you, this is from call center customer support, but in insurance and other verticals, this is already happening. What you're doing is you are setting the goal for 50% cost savings and first call resolution and average handling time. Those are the key metrics that the department cares about. Everything below, like AI agents that go across for fraud detection, AI agents for analysis, AI agents for execution, all of these different cascade of agents and people are coming together. It is not fully automated. It is not fully augmented. It is not fully autonomous. But the people are new and the roles are new, or the old people need to be trained for the new. So that's the game being played. I'm going to walk you through an example like previous time, this time in retail. And I want you to start thinking, and I'll ask you some questions on how to apply it. So open the worksheet and let's go through that. Here's the use case in retail. Let's say in retail, you create 3 roles. Overseer, again, I just is describing what we just finished talking. Let's say the use case is customer service operations. You are a omni-channel retail with a brick and mortar as well as online, and you want your customer service costs are very high, as simple as that. Both in-store cost as well as online cost. And your goal is to improve margins of your business while maintaining customer satisfaction, right? How might you go do that? You might say, okay, here is my goal, improve margins while maintaining customer satisfaction. Here are 3 sub-goals. So you see the trick now is you start decomposing goals. You don't decompose goals into workflows and people. Just decompose goals. What needs to be true from business point of view for those to be true? Maybe the 3 goals are, sub-goals are improve in-store feedback, increase first call resolution, and increase pricing. So what you're doing is creating a cascade of goals, and this is the goal you want to now, sub-goal you want to go after. And now what you say is, okay, let's improve in-store feedback, right? So I'm gonna, in-store feedback, what if I help sales people in the store and give them an agent to coach them how they are improving interaction inside the store. So that you took a goal like improve in-store feedback, and you started creating a pairing which says, I need this augmented. I can't do it autonomously. I have in-store people. I need to train them with better information so they can resolve the issues right away. So I'm going to augment. I'm going to collaborate, help the in-store salespeople collaborate better by giving them a coaching agent that helps them answer the question so that in the store, while they're talking to you, they can say, this is out of stock, or I can have it shipped or not. This is the 5 colors available. And now the agent is helping them. The AI agent is helping them to be a better collaborator with the AI. All directed towards the goal number 1. Second could be increase first call resolution. Now you're saying, I'm going to go into my call center and I'm going to direct customer service agents to the right call. If I did nothing but control the process of routing the most important frustrated calls or the most highest value frustrated calls to the right agents, I can improve my CSAT. What you did was you said, my goal is first call resolution, and first call resolution depends on routing, and here is my automated process of routing. So the math you went through was a goal, cognitive pairing, the right agent, and the right human training, and the right level of control from across the 3 layers. I want to increase pricing. Okay, we will have a pricing agent that will adjust pricing online on the website directly, but it's so important that it's not automated, because you can lose your shirt in 5 minutes. So we will have to have somebody really govern it carefully, monitor it, the margins on an exception, and put guardrails around it. So we'll have some pricing expert who will have to oversee it. So I just explained to you how an AI native approach would be different. Now you might back into it and say, okay, now these 3 people will have to be, these 3 personas will have to be paired by different people, different skills. The agents have to be trained differently, fair enough. But what you're doing is attacking the goals. Okay, solo exercise. We're going to do in the next 10 minutes, step-by-step exercise to work your muscle. And it's okay if it doesn't work that fast, but I hope you get a taste of it, which is to go through these 5 steps to see whether you can do an AI-first product thinking on this. First step would be, I'm going to walk you through the steps so that you know. First step would be, we will find a goal that you already have or you want to point your gun at. It's a goal of a burning problem. Then we will take the same list we had before, AI agentic capabilities in 5 buckets. But rather than point them to individuals, we'll point them to the goal. Then we will go through new use cases, completely new use cases, job to be done. Then we will build out the human AI pairing, and then we'll summarize it. Ready? Let's go through it. First thing, I want you to open the worksheet. First thing, aim for a goal, create sub-goals. Most important thing you can do is find a goal that is tied to a burning problem, a problem for which your buyer can be fired or hired. and now start decomposing that into sub-goals. Fair? Okay, so goals, sub-goals, done, good. Should we keep moving? Here is the next step. There is a reference sheet here. There's a reference example here, and you should have a copy of the sheet also of examples. It's called How to Position Your AI Along Customer AI Architecture. This is a bit of an advanced topic, but this is what it is. This gives you examples of how to make sure when you get to AI native, you need to make sure that you are fully integrating with a customer IT stack. Because it's not enough for you to predict something, you want to predict it with their data. It's not enough for you to run an agent on your side, you need to run it into their process, right? So I don't have time to go through in depth on how to do it, but since it's a separate adjacent topic, there is a worksheet, you have an electronic copy of it also in front of you, which talks about how to think about these capabilities. These capabilities I'm talking about, which is exactly the same capabilities, right? The five, but now you have to make sure that it is positioned appropriately with your customer's tech stack. And there are questions and examples in that worksheet that you are seeing that guides you on how to think about it. Okay? So let's take you have already done some first stab at this. Let's take the capabilities you had, and now I want you to consider how will you create those. You have the sub-goals and goals. You have some idea of the capabilities. Now start defining the job to be done. So now, just like in the retail example, your goal was to improve customer satisfaction in store. The job to be done is how can I train the sales reps in the store to be more successful in answering questions. That's the job. Once you got to that, then you said, oh, I think I can augment them with an AI agent. Can I augment them with an AI agent? And then you say, I will have to develop augmentation capability, which I have on how to be able to coach and train AI agent for sales coaching purposes. You could say my sub-goal was how to lower the cost of call center first call resolution, and the job to be done was, can I route the best agent to the most frustrated user? And if so, how can I do that? Right? The matching is an automated task. That's the job to be done. On the one side is agents, other side is my AI, like human agent, other side is my AI, and I'm going to route it, and that's what I need to do. So this gets a little complicated for a very simple reason. This asks you to reimagine the job to be done. That's why it's hard. It asks you to look at the goal and asks you to reimagine your use case and job to be done. This is where, if you are struggling with it, let me point out something which is so powerful. Subject matter experts inside companies and industries are going to be gold in every AI company that is going to be built in the next 5 years. Why? This is why. You can do tech all day long, all AI agentic platform, blah, blah, MCP, doesn't matter. If you can't solve this problem of how to take a sub-goal of a company that is struggling with something and match it to a job to be done that is powered by a combination of human and your AI agent, you cannot go anywhere. And that requires you to have deep domain knowledge of the goal, of the use case, of the task, how you're going to implement it, how you're going to make it happen. That is the goal. That is why a lot of tech companies that are in business-oriented applications, are hiring, incorporating experts in each of these areas who live at the cold seams of use cases and goals. So if you're struggling with it, that tells you an opportunity for you to reinvent your SaaS application with that in mind. Go back and say, what expertise do I need that is missing? Because till now, I had the luxury of selling SaaS from outside inside a company, coming back to the very opening remarks I made. Like the human intelligence was somewhere there or in the ether. I just shipped my code and I was done because I had a ACV of 10,000 a year and it was good SaaS subscription. Not gonna work. So I want you to take a stab at it. It's end of the day almost. This is the hardest part of the whole workshop, then things get easier. So take a stab, make some notes of what you need, even if you don't have the answer. Make a note right now to yourself of what would you need to discover to answer this question. That alone is worth it. Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to consult with? Who do you need to interact with in your customers or expert network to answer this question? You see, then comes the idea. Then comes the human pairing. Once you know the use case, and you know these are my capabilities, then you can say, these are the roles I need matched. It works both ways. You can say, I will provide these roles. I'm working with some companies in Department of Defense. They're saying, I will have to train you because the people at the other end are trained government employees they have to be fully trained. In other industries, in commercial, don't worry about these 3 people. I will bring you. I will train them on my dime, my team, my people, I'll bring it. I'll charge you for it. That's the mixed model. So what I'm saying is, once you start filling this out, then possibilities open up. What business model? Are you going to train the customer on your agents? Or are you bringing your people who are trained on your agents? Or whatever the answer is. Summarize, ultimately what you're trying to do is go from hungry buyer, burning problem, to clear-cut goal with all the sub-goals, with clear-cut pairing, and new agentic workflow, and new AI UX might come out of it, but that's the last thing. You don't start with workflow, you don't start with UX, you start with that, and then let the UX and AI emerge. And this is where people who already have a SaaS application have an advantage. Because you might already have some of the UX, you might already have the collaboration, you might already have the access to data. So you might have to just mash up with your existing application and add the pieces that are missing to get to the inline. We are going to give only 3 to 5 minutes. Let's take a stab at the table. I'll walk around and see whether you can either attempt this for an AI native product of your own or take notes around what will it take for you to get there. Okay? Less than 5 minutes. And then the rest of the conference, rest of the workshops, rest of the modules are easier, if that's a promise. This is the last significant portion, because it concludes with how do you position all of this? Remember, we started out the session by saying if you don't differentiate your AI, you can't win in the game. And we went down all the way to the weeds of how do you differentiate. Before we get to differentiation, people differentiate superficially, right? Or they get hooked on my agentic blah, 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 my model XYZ, my toolkit so-and-so, my feature Y. They get hooked on that. My approach to building AI differentiation or any differentiation is deep understanding of the customer space, super deep understanding of your product, and then uniquely matching them in a way that only you can. So what comes out of it, bottom up, is much more strong and differentiated. You can then put language on top of that sounds persuasive. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to the meat of it. So now the good news is if you've gone through these exercises, reflected on it, and spent energy with yourself and with your key co-founders and technology thinkers, then you have the substance to differentiate yourself radically, right? I'm going to walk you through how to put it all together if these pieces have been thought through properly. And I'll walk you through in the next 15-minute module of how to position it. I'm wary of starting with positioning. I teach a course on positioning, which is just positioning alone can be a 3-day workshop, right? And the reason it's a 3-day workshop is the cherry on the cake comes only after the cake is fully baked. If you just put the cherry, no cake, no taste, right? So that's why you have to go through all of this to get to the synthesis, which is the positioning. And here is the worksheet. Feel free to pop it open. And this is what it starts with. We will start with AI agentic metrics. So first thing, the beauty of AI, why positioning is both easy and hard. Easy because you're aiming AI at a problem and a business goal. So in a certain way, you start by saying, here's the problem, here's what I'm solving, this is my answer, this is how I solved it. This is the value created. In that part, AI positioning is easy. I reduce the cost of servicing a customer by 50%, and you no longer need 10,000 agents that you had. That's a pretty bold claim. Like if you can support it and prove it and deliver on it, you're gold. But so in a certain way, the results speak for themselves. So first thing you have to do is, if you are doing AI and agents, make sure your AI agentic or capabilities are directly tied to business metrics. Do not care about how. I don't care whether it's LangChain or Crew or 6 different agents strung together. The question is, that's for IT people to get excited about. Did it deliver? What's the business metric your agents are driving at? Example, we talked about it. And these are 3 common value areas: efficiency, effectiveness, scalability. Nothing rocket science about it, very common. Everybody talks about how you're adding value in 3 different areas. The point I'm making is, can you say, my agent reduced scheduling effort by 40% at a hospital? That's what your agents are doing. Behind it could be 6 agents, 1 agent, 2 agents, doesn't matter. You have to point your agents to the value. Second, remember the retail example. Goal-driven value impact. So you start with the goal, the way I was describing, start with sub-goals, and then you run through and say, based on that sub-goal, what was the clear value and what's the KPI? Value in plain English, KPI, business metric that you moved. That's it. Left to right, here's the sub-goal. The goal of the team was to do this. Goal of the decision was this. Automation goal was this. And here was the use case, and this is how the agents solved it. Our agent solved it, and here's a clear-cut value. But basically, goal is the first thing you have to differentiate, like proof of value, right? The 3 things in AI which is different, which is not easily understood, is first is your AI stack. And I do not mean AI stack as in how you are using AI agents. I mean your full product stack. And this is a rookie error. People say, I injected AI, and that's my differentiation. No. If you inject AI as an ingredient technology in your product stack, you probably injected it at multiple levels. You had access to data, you had access to models, you had access to some various architectures you bolted on, drag or otherwise. You probably changed your UX. So what I'm saying to you is that your AI stack has to be differentiated, not the particular tool of AI within it. And there are company after company makes a mistake of saying, my AI is better. It should be my AI stack is better. It's because let's say you have access to unique proprietary data that only you have. That is part of your AI differentiation. Because you are now using that with AI to do something that you couldn't do before. Let's say you had a community around your product that had unique expertise, and you're accessing them through your AI. So what I'm saying is, first point of differentiation has to be, where is the magic in your stack? Data, model, agentic layer, or all the above. Or unique combination of that. One health company I work with, their unique combination is we have access to Epic data, if you know Epic. And we do magic on it in a unique workflow that you can't do it. So if they start differentiating, it's no point them talking about AI agents alone. Data plus AI agents is what their magic is, right? You don't even have to talk about models if you're using commodity or open source models. That's not the differentiation. It could be the way you have, inserted certain fine tuning on the model that's yours. Anyway, so the point is made that first point of differentiation is AI stack. Second and third used to be important, people forgot, especially in the SaaS world. Because SaaS doesn't depend upon time to value. Subscription starts the day I sell. Hopefully, you'll renew it. I'll see you 2 weeks before renewal begins. Hopefully, you'll renew it. Otherwise, I'll count you as churn. When AI is different, AI is like time to value is the most important factor. Why is the failure rate so high? Is because time to value and proof of impact, neither one of them are there. So even if you have AI differentiation in the stack, if you don't have time to value and proof of impact of your AI capabilities, then you will not be able to differentiate. This is where large companies have an advantage. This is where if you already are a SaaS company with a lot of customers and you can get some early pilots, you have an advantage. If you're an AI native company, most important thing is not customer acquisition. Most important thing is proof of impact and time to value. For an AI native company, most important thing is proof of impact and time to value. AI stack differentiation is simply to get you in the door, simply to walk in. So that's the idea. All three have to come together. And here is an example of coming back to the patient scheduling agent. We said, using that example, AI learns from hospital availability data and predict optimal scheduling with 95% accuracy. The proof and the data is what the difference was. Time to value, the hospital can implement that AI scheduling in 3 weeks and reduces appointment no-shows, $2 million savings. This to me is the gold ticket. If you can do all three, with your AI capabilities, that's the gold ticket. You've shown how your technology stack with AI differs. You've shown proof of impact, time to impact, proof of impact, time to value. Okay. Here is the synthesis of all of this in a handy cheat sheet, which is available to you in your LinkedIn, in your WhatsApp. There are also examples of this. If this printed on every, you have a couple of, I think these are printed. If you flip them, behind it are examples of positioning for a hospital and a positioning for retail. All I've done is taken everything you have been doing so far and converted it into, here is an example from healthcare. That prompt is simply your way of capturing it. Prompt simply means start with a use case. This is my guidance. Start with a use case at the highest level of the goal you can find. Work your way down to the various use cases of autonomy and augmentation and ensure that you are targeting it. If you take this template and apply it, this is what it will look like. Our agents help the business leader achieve this goal by enabling so-and-so function autonomously. And on the path to reaching autonomy, we can augment your people, and we can automate some execution. These are the 3 layers. We can operate at these 3 layers. If you cannot promise autonomy, promise augmentation. If you can't promise augmentation, promise automation. Because you're working your way up. And then show business impact and show how it will improve the persona, the person inside the company at each level. You summarize it, and it looks like this. Right? Like here is the use case, here is what we did, and in English it looks very impressive. But to get to this level of simple English, you should have done the work that we did this afternoon so that you can credibly say that. I'm a big believer in teach a concept and milk it for all it is. So I've taught you one single concept, and I'm going to show you in the same concept how to improve GTM. So we covered, surprisingly, several parts of GTM. You say, how come? Well, any good GTM starts with who, what, where, and who we already covered. ICP, buyer, goal, teamwork, flows. So there are parts of the GTM. The purples are the GTM questions. ICP, do you know who you're selling to? Buyer. Do you know what their goal is? Do you know whether you're going down to team and user or not? We covered that. So that is the foundation of GTM. Rookie error. Every time you change your ICP, or go into a different market, geographically or a different segment, your entire GTM changes. Entire GTM changes. So a lot of people come to me and say, I have a GTM problem. And I say, okay, good. Well, buyer's not buying, my channel is not working, my acquisition is broken, my funnel, like 9 out of 10 times before we get to solve the GTM problem, either the ICP is not clear or the product offering is not clear or the positioning is not clear. If those 3 things, which we covered today very briefly, like who are you selling, what your value proposition is, and what your product offering is, capability is, and can you package it into a differentiated story? If those things are not working for you or not clear for you, then GTM is a wasted exercise. It's like you want to run water down the pipes, and your pipes are not working. You have to make sure that you have something worthwhile sending down the pipe. So good news, core AI product. So here are the questions which we covered today. And there are some we did not, which I'm going to cover in a few seconds. We covered ICP. We covered the offering, core product AI. How far along are you going to go with agency and agents? And we covered positioning. How are you different? We're going to cover very quickly offering, pricing, and a little bit of GTM pathways, and then ecosystem. And this is going to be we covered these 3, the next 3. And this is going to be just concepts. We don't have time to go deep. Pricing. Not surprisingly, user and usage is shifting to outcome pricing. You've heard about this. Is this going to outcome pricing? People are saying, no, every pricing will work. That's true, but cloud AI native will be outcome pricing. Remember everything we have been doing. If everything is getting pointed towards goals, and you are promising that AI is going to solve a goal by removing the problem, then why not price on the outcome of the goal? Right. So this is not to say this is inevitable. What I'm saying is there are a lot of guardrails and experimentation happening, right? And there will be some who will never move to it because they want to control the budget, the usual thing. Outcome pricing is not new. The concept of there's no economic model here that hasn't been invented. It's just that AI is re-bringing back some economic conversations. Exactly. So what I'm saying is there will be buyers who will not be ready, and there will be buyers who are experimenting. It will vary by use case. It will vary by risk of the buyer. It will go back to my framework around AI potential. AI potential, change potential. AI change potential. If your AI change potential is low, the CFO might say, I'm not ready. Forget even the buyer. So, but the point I'm making is this. If you are experimenting with pricing, start experimenting with various versions of outcomes. And you can have outcomes that are literally the goal of the buyer, and you can have what I call, that's the most immediate outcome, or you can have outcomes that are laddering to that. And there's a whole economic science around how far you can go down on outcomes. But you can start pricing on any of these 5 things. Example, incidents averted. If you're predicting events and you're saying you will not have that event, maintenance is going to be free, then charge me for the incidents I avert, as an example. Not everybody will buy it, but that's the point. Experimentation on pricing is happening. I've lived long enough to know that we used to have outcome-based pricing in very old times. Then we lived through where all pricing was subscription, and that's where we ran into the challenge where nobody cares about outcome. I don't care about renewal. It's a 2-year contract, and you're stuck with it. And now we are seeing a shift back to a blend. And where we land remains to be seen. But I do know, I interviewed the head of pricing at Freshworks, and she was saying that all experiments are happening. In SaaS, all experiments are happening. Very good. Here are all the barriers why this pricing is not going to happen early. Right? Customer tech gaps. You can't even instrument and measure any of these outcomes, especially with your product. Like product building skills. Like you can't get there first because it's for you to show that the product is actually driving the impact. Customer evolution has to keep up. And then finally, your ability to sell. Your sales rep might not be able to sell, or the whole GTM has to change. Right? It's a different skill. Growing up in the license era where you could do $2 million licenses, and that's how Oracle built their entire first innings, right? Later on, you have to sell on subscriptions. Now people are selling on consumption, right? So it changes the entire GTM talent pool. I'm going to quickly go through 3 different GTM strategies which are most prevalent. I don't have time to go through how these are radically getting altered by AI, but I'll give you, depending upon the company you are at and the product you're at, you might already be following some of these GTM strategies. I call them user first, buyer first, team first. Not a surprise, right? So here is how it works. First of all, this is choose your early adopter segment. For all startups, I cannot emphasize enough. My favorite quotation on startup GTM is PMF is startups die of overeating, not of starvation. Contrarian. They don't die of starvation. They die of overeating. They cannot choose a segment. They cannot choose an ICP. They cannot choose a straight path. So they think it's best to hedge. And best to hedge means we will take any segment, we'll take any buyer, we'll take any revenue. And they overeat, they can't digest, and that's it. So to me, the most important thing on GTM is even if you do everything I told you so far correctly, you choose a niche to start in. You choose as narrow a niche. And if you think you have a narrow segment, I bet you don't have it narrow enough. I'll put money on it. 9 out of 10 founders I work with, they think, oh, I have a pretty focused view. I'm going after SMBs. No, you're not. SMBs are 10,000 SMBs. Like, which subsegment of SMB, and can you give me 5 filters and profile of what exact SMBs will return your call? Niche is the biggest error you make in GTM, starting out. Because it's one thing to discover. You can say, I'm running 3 GTM experiments, one in enterprise, one in mid-market, one in SMB. Fair enough. You don't have a GTM, you are discovering. Once you have an ICP log, then you can say, okay, now I need to run pipe into that. Right? You can't run 10 pipes into 10 markets and think that you are going to have success. Okay, fundamental question, user first, buyer first. Every product, PLG is hot. How many people are following PLG? Okay, PLG is hot, right? If you're a developer tool, if you're a security tool, if you're an IT admin tool, if you're an ops tool, chances are you will go with PLG. That's the most natural. You want the community, you want the product to be adopted by thousands of people before you get adoption. So nothing wrong with that except no revenue, right? In B2B, no revenue. I've known companies with 5, 10, 20,000 developer adoption, sold for pittance, no revenue. So PLG is fantastic if your product depends on user delight and adoption. Buyer product fit is fantastic. Buyer first is fantastic if your product can unlock buyer value fast. That's it, right? But here's the truth. Eventually, you're going to use both. You can't escape it. So eventually, you're going to do both. The question is, what do you start with, and when do you merge? Because you will, and some companies are smart enough, and repeat founders, they have GTM instinct, they will run 2 tracks in parallel. They will have a user-focused track and with product teams and growth teams, and they will have a sales track and with sales teams, and hopefully that it lands. And this is now merging into something called product-led sales, which is a fusion of the two. Before you get too advanced and sophisticated on it, my view is if you're a first-time founder with limited experience in GTM, get one of these right and choose the right one to begin with. And it's very easy because either you are in a market where user adoption is very necessary for you to get traction, or you're a buyer first, you can unlock enterprise value. And that's a strategic question. Therefore, you can do user first, work your way up the stack, work your way up the pyramid. Companies like all of these, Slack, GitHub, and so forth, right? Atlassian didn't have sales rep famously till till there were 1,000 people or more. They hired the first sales rep because they were the textbook of bottom up, right? So these are the 3 different patterns. Users. If you're selling to teams, then selling teams is when you have no choice but to sell to teams. Slack is a good example. You don't sell one Slack seat. You have to have a team to get going. And team is also true in areas where a team is going to be the way you unlock value. In security, in data integration, in data infrastructure, you can't get off the bottom use case till the IT, the data person, the architect, can't come together and get the thing going. So team first is not as common, but in certain markets, you have no choice but to do team first. This is classic. This is like 25 years of top-down, right? Over there, the biggest thing is targeted account approach, or you go after geographical buyer sales approach, and then eventually you rope in users. This is a good example. MongoDB, Databricks is a good example of team first, right? The buyer has to agree, but buyer is not the influencer. The team has to agree to get the first use case going. And if the team cannot operationalize the first use case, no amount of buyer purchase is going to make a difference. Some of these infrastructure companies are using team first approach. Okay. This is just a quick mental exercise. Choose a strategy, choose a niche, make sure it is genuinely a niche. Choose a strategy, user, team, buyer first. Know that very soon you will have to layer in the complement strategy. And it's a tough job. It's a judgment call on when to orchestrate and bring that in. Here's the thing. If you're dealing with a dentist, right, and the CEO gets to say, I'll call in all my dentists, I run a dentist shop. I'm an SMB, I'm the CEO, I'm the grand poobah, I can make things happen. The entire company can come in and they will follow the CEO. Fantastic, sell to the CEO. This framework of buyer first, if buyer is a CEO and has the ability to impose a solution, if you are beyond 100, 200, 300 people company, CEO is powerless. I'll say that again. CEO can say all day long, please use this, please use this. If the user doesn't want it, the product is sabotaged, or worse, you are sabotaging your own success. So I think selling to CEO is an important part of your account strategy, but not to be replaced with what is required. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this. So you've seen this framework, channels. Another very, very common rookie advice, especially for people coming from India to US. I have a partner who's going to get me into US. I have a channel. I don't know a single company that has succeeded that way in early stages. It's one thing if you're a successful large company with full running business elsewhere and you want to enter through a partner because you don't care if the partner doesn't work, I'll swap it out, right? If you're a 10 people, 5 people startup sitting in India and you want to build it natively for US, you need to not start with channels. Channels are something you add over time. And you figure out which channels to add over time. That's all. And there are two different pathways. There are two different ecosystems. AI is going to be central to this. I don't have time to go through this. But product-led channel versus sales-led channel. Two different things. Intuitively, it makes sense. You'll be surprised how few people think about it deeply. The different pathways of integration and depth. Product-led channels, account-led channels. Product-led, your product is the currency that's opening the channel. Your product is the offering. The product is opening the channel. Product gets embedded. It's sell-through in the market, gets embedded in a product or built on a product platform. In the other one, which is a good example is Shopify. It's like you build on Shopify, like you are now embedded part of the Shopify ecosystem, or you build on App Exchange and you are a native app built on Salesforce and so forth. On the right side is the Accentures of the world, where you are selling through service partners, where you have various models and different ways. There's a link in your WhatsApp. It's a Google form. I promise you it will take you less than 5 minutes, maybe even 3. I would welcome you to complete it now. There are 2 important things. Because you joined the WhatsApp, I would like you to put in the WhatsApp number so we can connect it to the email so that I can send you back the information on email. But I want to be able to tie that. So if you'd be kind enough to put your email and WhatsApp so that we know how to reach you, to send you the follow-up information, I would appreciate that. And rest is pretty simple. Please take 5 minutes. And then I have a couple of minor things before we let go. It won't take long. Everything I'm talking about, I write about it. If you subscribe to my newsletter, anuragwadehra.com, it's called Growth. I don't spam you. I write only once in 2-3 months. So that's kind of, and I only write long form. And all the concepts I've shared, I have piloted in the workshops, and you can keep up with that. And this.